We'll be talking more as the year goes on, you cool season friends, but one thing I do want to say is you're going to want to consider a fungicide application this year in the mid to late spring, hedging against summertime diseases. That's one of the fallouts that I believe we're going to get from those warm temps you guys got in February and January, whenever it was. I believe that disease pressure is going to be really tough this year, so you may want to consider a fungicide app. So if I was going to tell you that this is the textbook look that I see in a year like this, where, so not all of this is from disease. Some of this is. All right, guys, so listen, we're going to get right to the tips today. I was in Northwest Indiana last week visiting Jake the Lawn Kid. I also visited my sons and everything for 4th of July.
And finally tonight, 3 out of the first 5 presidents died on the 4th of July. You were John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe. How weird is that?
Maximum flight altitude reached.
Had a really great time, but Jake the Lawn Kid and I got together and hung out, and we did like a walk and talk through the old neighborhood. So that's what the rest of this video is going to be about. I'm going to go over some weeds we found. We're going to show you my old lawn. We're going to talk about fertilizing, getting rid of clover, some disease problems and that. But the real big reason that I wanted to get the tips out right in the front here is something I noticed that you guys are probably noticing too, and that is disease problems this summer in cool season lawns are really bad. What you're seeing here in this footage is mostly brown patch. I haven't seen brown patch this bad in Kentucky bluegrass and rye in quite a long time. Tall fescue, always a problem, but with bluegrass and rye, it's really bad this year. There's also some dollar spot in here, and then also what I'm calling this half in, half out drought stress kind of dealio. So the way to know though that you have brown patch is you will see it spreading and moving. It might start in one spot and then within just a few days it has moved to another spot or moved on and spread. And if you're seeing that getting progressively worse, go ahead and get down a fungicide. You guys know I'm a big fan of Propiconazole. I'll link in the description below to a liquid that you can get and mix because I'd recommend that as a quicker stoppage. However, you can also get granular products, and I'll link in the description below to those. Also, you can get Eagle, which I think the name that I think the active ingredient is microbutanil, something like that. But anyway, Eagle is the name I know it by. I'll link in the description below to that. I don't know if there is a generic for that, but if there is, I'll link to that. Eagle's a great product as well, especially if you've been using Propiconazole. It's nice to go back and forth a little bit. And if you have crabapple trees that get apple scab fungus, then Eagle is also an excellent fungicide to help thwart the progress of apple scab, because that's also bad in a year like this. So if you're going to treat for diseases this year in your cool season lawn, remember, you can't really repair the damage that's done, but you can stop everything in its tracks so it doesn't get worse. I'd also prepare to do multiple apps. You'll have to read the label of the product you get, but typically you're going to do 3 apps 2 weeks apart to go ahead and make sure that you wipe the disease out. Just because of the nature of how fungus works, it does take multiple apps sometimes to completely stop it. However, if you're using Propiconazole, I promise you, you're going to get really good results pretty quick. Now I'm going to go ahead and give you some further tips in this video, but the other thing you're want to considering is in the fall, you're going to want to make sure that you're going to be able to aerate and overseed to go ahead and just help the lawn repair itself that much quicker, because brown patch does leave lasting damage, especially as bad in what you're seeing right here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
What's going on, buddy? Give me that.
Nice to see you.
How you been?
Good, how are you?
All right. What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. This week's video is sponsored by Jake the Lawn Kid and the Aqua Thumb.
What's up, everybody?
So I happened to be up here for a week in Northwest Indiana visiting the boys. My sons, who you guys know are both active duty, were home this week, so we came up here to Northwest Indiana to spend 4th of July together. And while I'm up here, I always have to come by and see my good buddy Jake. And in fact, today we're gonna do what I'm calling walk and talk. You ready for a little walk and talk, Jake?
Of course.
This video is sponsored by crackweeds with orange peels next to them. All right, so enough joking around, but I think what we should do though, seriously, is let's just go through and look at lawns, because this has been a really interesting year in that I think that probably what we're seeing this year in lawns is probably one of the most damaging things or dangerous things that I've seen in lawns in a long time up here in the Midwest. And that is what I call the semi-wet summer.
The semi-wet summer.
Throw her down! Let's hope for the best. So I guess we should kind of explain what that looks like. But before we do, let's take a look at this lawn right here.
This is like our experiment spot. Every time you come to town, we always use this one.
Yeah, we've filmed here before, I know.
Yeah.
So this is a textbook neglected lawn that gets cut too low.
Right.
Always been that way.
And because of that, right, you gotta think of it. Because when you mow your lawn taller, you're encouraging deeper roots, which is going to allow your lawn to thicken up and resist some of these diseases. But because he mows it so short, and we get a lot of sun here in the summer and barely any rain, you can kind of see, right, that this grass being lowered, it's not going to thicken up, and you're just allowing these disease problems to just creep in on their own over time and take over.
That's exactly right. So let's talk about that. What I'm seeing here is a lot of dollar spot.
That's right.
Boom, boom, boom. I mean, this is so textbook, it almost looks like animal damage, but it's not. It's definitely dollar spot all through there. The reason that this year is so dangerous is because that we don't have the typical summer where everything wants to go into dormancy completely, where we might get rain once every week and a half to 2 weeks.
Right.
We're actually getting rain right now every day almost. But it hasn't always been this way. Back about a month and a half ago, there was a week of really high heat here, extreme high, over the 90s, which is too hot for these cool season grasses, which threw them all into dormancy.
Right.
And then what happened is you start getting light rain with heat, right? Which kind of sort of brings them out of dormancy. And now what we've had today, as you can tell by the weather, is the last couple days we've had some pretty heavy downpours. And so what's happening is the lawns are confused. They're like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to stay in summer dormancy, come out of summer dormancy? And what it does is any weak spots in the lawn or any weak spots in the turf are now being exposed, because those areas cannot come back.
Right.
Because they've gone in and out of dormancy, right? And then so what that allows is it allows some problems to show up, and it also exacerbates other problems like disease or insects. So let's take a look at a few things. By the way, the other thing it does is it wreaks havoc with your crabgrass barriers. So we're gonna see a lot of things. Let's go ahead and do a little quick walk and talk then. All right, another thing we can see here, this is classic tall fescue clumps, but these are cut really low. But you can see right there, that's a tall fescue clump right there. Got some weed action in there, but this is a tall fescue clump, and then this is Kentucky bluegrass and some rye here. Of course, the weather that we've been experiencing, you know, there's really nothing to do with the weather creating those tall fescue clumps. They're just there.
Right.
But still something to point out just so people can see what they look like.
The only way to get rid of them is dig them out.
Pretty much, yeah, or glyphosate. You know, if you have
Glyphosate.
a couple things. But yeah, digging them out's a lot better strategy.
Mm-hmm. And then you could always fill it in with soil from the backyard or something. Anything that blends in. You don't want to go with something that's like that has. You don't want to go with a topsoil that has all this organic material in it, especially if you're trying to dominate the neighborhood, right?
Well, yeah, because it'll be darker than everything else.
Because it'll be darker than everything else. I mean, everybody thinks, yeah, darker's better, but not all the time, especially when you have to wait a while for your lawn to catch up to that.
All right, so coming up here, walking it along, right on the edge here.
Got some nutsedge.
Yep, yellow nutsedge coming in.
Where all the water builds up.
Big time, exactly right. And so
it's watergrass.
that's why they call it watergrass, right? So you can see everything drains right down, boom, right there, little nutsedge. Not too big of a deal, but something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's classic crabgrass, right? And the way you're gonna see it first is always along edges, like you see here. So you can see there's some clover in here too, but this is crabgrass, textbook crabgrass breaking through on the edges. You know, they do a lot of edging here, so they may have put in a crabgrass pre-emergent, because I don't really see any out there, right, in the rest of the lawn, but you can see it all around the edges. Two reasons why. By the way, you can always learn from the sidewalks. Always look at the sidewalks right by them, because there's a couple things. You got to realize it creates its own microclimate. So this area, the cement will absorb heat a lot quicker in spring and retain heat a lot longer in fall. So everything that you see along the edges here is always going to be more advanced than the rest of the lawn. So typically this will be a few weeks ahead because of this extra heat, right? You follow?
Right.
That radiates in. It puts this a few weeks ahead of the rest of the lawn. So typically what you see here, you may see there later. Now again, with crabgrass, if a barrier was put down, I don't know if it was, it's broken down on this edge from edging, but also just from heat radiating in will break down the chemical barrier and allow the crabgrass to break through. And that's why we always have to have some sort of quinclorac or something like you have to spot spray if needed. Now you don't have any crabgrass problems, but this guy does for sure. And you can see it going all the way along there. It's that nice bright lime green color.
You can even tell.
He did do a nice edge though. I mean, that's a pretty tight edge, whoever's doing it. Got to give them props on that. So if you're seeing crabgrass break through along the edges, then you want to get quinclorac for that. It's kind of a single-use product, but you can mix it up in a hand can, and if you're going to have problems along the edges, you're going to need to spray a few times. You want to get to the crabgrass before it gets to the second tiller stage if you can. The more mature it gets, the harder it is to die. And be ready, it'll turn a red or an orange. It won't necessarily go away completely. About this one this time of year. This is what I call wood sorrel, or oxalis, or oxalis. So pretty much it's a perennial, it comes back year after year, plants get bigger and bigger, but you can kill this with most of your over-the-counter weed controls. 2,4-D dicamba should take care of this in spot spray form. But you are seeing, I mean, you gotta see this stuff spreads out and it will shade your lawn, and that's really what happens with weeds, is it's competition for your good turf or for your good crop. And so what'll happen is, hey, I'm trying to film here. And so what'll happen is this grows up and it'll shade your lawn out, and competition creates thin spaces and it allows the weeds to take over. So not something you want to leave in there, especially you can see here, this has really started to infest in this park.
Right here, this lady right here actually heard my videos, right? From, I don't know how, probably from past flyers or whatever, but she's like, I've been watching your videos. We sat down for like hours and just watched your videos about putting Milorganite down every 4 weeks or so, and just look at the results, man. I mean, she may have overdid it a little bit.
No, I don't think so.
I think it looks good.
You're a little behind on the mowing though because of all the rain, right?
Yeah, I was supposed to mow this yesterday, but my guys, they were they were backing out on me. They were tired.
Your team was indisposed?
Yeah, my team was indisposed. Exactly right.
Big old patch of nutsedge. But you see, it's concentrated right on the corner, probably where the water all sits. Yeah, that's all nutsedge growing up there. I'll give you guys a link in the description below. Sedgehammer is probably the cheapest and easiest way to get rid of this. So you watch this one because you're observant.
Right.
So they have a lot of dogs?
I happen to know that this woman here actually has dogs, and they're always out in the front.
Yep.
And when they're out in the front, what do you get? You get all the pee stains.
Yeah, so actually it's so much though, it's almost fertilized the lawn fairly evenly, but but definitely that is animal urine problems. All right, this would be an interesting one here. So this is riddled with all kinds of problems. We got disease.
First one I want to point out.
What's that?
Before you say anything, check out these blades. No, let me get a clear one here.
You're like yanking up the dude's
I know.
lawn.
Dull mower blade.
Dull mower blade, yeah.
You can see it's all chipped, so that's part of it. And he's got a lot of dollar spot in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of disease issues in here. This is just overall weak turf, and this is what happens. Notice how the edges are all green though still. And this is where I talk about how you can really learn.
The water.
That's exactly right. Any water that comes off in the morning, any morning dew collects there. And so actually this part of the lawn has gotten watered properly just from morning dew running off. Or if there's any rain or whatever, it collects in there.
Right.
So it just shows you that this is what the lawn could look like all the way down, but because you're in here and you're weak and you're untreated and unirrigated or non-irrigated, this is what you're left with.
Absolutely.
So this here is interesting. That's a home right there, and this is a public park. And some people might be saying, Alan, how come the public park can look better than the home lawn? And by the way, this is a home lawn that Jake got to do a one-time cut on in the spring. I'll show you the Instagram picture of it in the spring when it had proper irrigation on it. But some of you might ask, so why is that, right? Because obviously that lawn's not getting irrigated, it's a little bit too big. We know there's no in-ground sprinkler system, but why does the park's lawn look better? The reason the park lawn looks better is because the park's lawn was created by seed, and that lawn was created by sod.
Right.
That's the biggest difference. A seeded lawn will always perform better in the long run because it's the only place that that grass plant's ever grown, whereas sod is grown perfectly in a nursery or at a sod farm, right? Then it's ripped up, its roots are ripped away, and then it's set down in this old construction soil, and then it's probably not watered right, it's not taken care of right, it's never aerated, and that's what you have. Whereas this park lawn, not looking the greatest, but definitely dominating the neighborhood. And Jake, I gotta be honest, if you get dominated by public parklands, you got a real problem.
That's right.
Don't get dominated by the public parklands, my friends. Throw her down! All right, so we're at Jake's dad's friend, Cass. I know Cass, I've had a few beers with him before. Cass has a domination line going on, Jake. That's what this is. It's probably a little heavy.
Yeah.
It's probably a little overpronounced. but it's still a domination line. So Cass, if you're watching this, good job, buddy. Look at that. He definitely went down that twice. You can just tell.
Yeah.
He went down there twice, without a doubt.
Right.
Even though he needs to up his watering a little bit, but he's not looking too bad. You cut this one, Jake?
Yeah, we cut this one yesterday.
Looks real good, but he's getting dominated in the backyard.
Yeah.
See those stripes?
Yeah.
Is he home?
We should be fine. Let's come to the backyard and take a look for a second.
Dude, this is a domination line.
Dominated from 2 directions over here.
This is not fun. Wow, this grass looks great back here.
Oh yeah. All right. Look at these baseball field stripes.
Yeah, this guy's got it going on, right? Jake, how are you gonna take that? How are you gonna let that happen?
What do you mean? I cut that.
Oh, you do that.
Yeah, those are my stripes.
Those are your stripes. Wait a minute.
Those are my stripes too.
Wait a minute. These are all your stripes?
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
No.
All right, so those are your stripes,
And those are my stripes.
and you
Yep.
pointed them this way on purpose.
Yeah.
Did you point them right at Cass on purpose?
Yeah. You know, I gotta piss him off a little bit.
Yeah, you did. Dude, looking good. But I tell you what, look at, he's got his fertilizing domination going on. Look at this square right here. Look at this corner.
Yeah.
Dude, those stripes are tight though, dude.
Yeah.
That's from that Craftsman 42?
Uh-huh.
Man, guess what killed that ash tree right there?
What?
Emerald ash borer. That's right. These are the last couple. I mean, most of the ash trees around here are already dead.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless they were protected. But for the most part, that's what they look like. That is not coming back. So you can see they're called galleries. And it's where the bugs crawled underneath. See all that? You can see all the trails in there.
Right.
That's from the worms going through and eating everything up underneath there between the, whatever this outer layer is, I don't know what it's called, and the inner layer. They eat everything up in between, and it stops the xylem and phloem, which is the up and down of sugars and water and nutrients through the tree, and that's what kills it. And you know what, since we're here in Jake's garage, let's just talk about clover for a quick second here. Just get what you can over the counter. Look at what he's got here. This right here will take care of clover, no problem. Here you go. Not a sponsor. I don't know Bayer, I don't work for Bayer, I don't take Bayer for headaches, I don't use Bayer for nothing, okay? I don't even go after bears in the woods. But this right here will definitely take care of clover. So what I see here is there's a lot of, I don't think it's misinformation, Jake, but it's definitely information that I think needs some clarification. And that is, everybody thinks that if you're gonna kill clover in a Midwest lawn like this, that you need to get some sort of special labeled clover killer, or this is designed for clover.
Right.
And really, while that's fine, that's really just packaging is what that is. What we really want to do is we want to go for a weed control that's going to control most or a majority of the weeds that we have in our situation. So today we found some oxalis, we definitely saw dandelions, I saw some plantain out there, and then the clover. The clover is really the most prolific thing that we're seeing. But I'm not going to get something labeled for clover. What I'm going to get is something labeled to kill all of those, and just trust that that's what it'll do. The key is, a lot of people will tell you, well, the reason that you want something labeled for clover is because it's a tougher weed, and it is. But the secret to killing clover is not in any kind of special chemical, it's in using a surfactant. And that's why I tell you to put some baby shampoo in the mix, or just you can buy some real non-ionic surfactant. We'll link below in the description of that. But that's really the case, because what a surfactant does is it allows the weed control to work faster, stronger, and longer. It lets it stick and work a little bit quicker as well. So that's the key. It's not getting something special labeled for clover, it's just making sure that the weed control you buy is labeled for clover, generally. And as you can see here in the weed control that you have, clover is called out as one of the major weeds, and they know that because of the area that we're in. But don't always trust packaging, trust labeling. That's really what I'm getting at here. And use a surfactant if you have clover, and you'll get just as good results as anybody else.
Not a lot to worry about there.
No. You said you sprayed clover here?
Yeah, mainly right here.
So there was a lot of clover there?
Yeah, it was like, you can even see the bare spots where it was taken over, mainly.
And you mixed it up? Did you use baby shampoo?
Not the first time, but the second time.
So it took 2 apps.
Mm-hmm.
First time no surfactant, second time surfactant.
Yeah.
How far apart were the apps?
2 of them were done in the same day.
Ah, okay, so you heavy-handed it.
Yeah.
But other than that, so this whole thing in here was all clover?
Right.
And now it's all cleared up?
It's not really bad.
No, not at all. And no special labeled clover killer?
Nope.
No,
Just typical weed killer that you buy at the store. That's it.
Oh, and a surfactant and a heavy-handed double axe.
Throw her down. Let's hope for the best. Official JTLK's trailer. Oh, I love that, dude. That looks pretty tight. Dan, you got it on there in a good spot, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right next to the Echo PAS 225, not a sponsor. Right next to the PB 200 by another Echo, not a sponsor. Right next to the Blitz gas can, not a sponsor. Right next to the Dick's Sporting Goods. Right next to the Nestle Pure Life water, not a sponsor. Alright y'all, so let me just go ahead and end this video. It's pretty long, I think, but I'm hoping that most of you will get the humor that I'm doing with the sponsorship stuff. You know, you guys give me your opinions, I can have a little fun with you, but in the end, we all know it's just about neighborhood domination and getting just the tips. By the way, these palm trees behind me here, these are new. You wonder why I haven't been uploading that much in the last like 2 weeks or so? It's because I've been getting some landscaping done here at the old crib in Florida. It's actually not even totally done yet. It's only about 40% where it is. But what I'm basically doing is I'm having a lot of the bigger stuff that I can't really handle in my Hyundai here. I'm having that put in by a professional, as well as I'm getting curbing and everything done, and I'm having bring the rock in, all the big heavy lifting, and then I'm gonna do all the small stuff underneath, all the stuff that I can handle, really the fun stuff that adds the color, the annual pop, the perennial flowering, and probably quite a bit more palm tree kind of looking stuff. All right, so let me just go ahead and wrap this video up. I do appreciate those of you who have stayed all the way to the end. Let me go ahead and give you now tips. If this is your lawn, if you're a cool season lawn and this is what you're experiencing, let me tell you what to do for it. So the first thing that I need you to realize is that brown patch kind of comes in from heat and humidity, and then all the rain keeps things wet, but the rain typically brings in that humidity, and that's what makes brown patch get so bad in lawns, especially in tall fescue. But again, I'm seeing it in Kentucky bluegrass this year, and rye is definitely being decimated. So the first thing is, do not put nitrogen on the lawn. That's just gonna make things worse. It's basically gonna make the lawn get healthy just so it can immediately get destroyed by more brown patch. You don't wanna push growth at this time. I know that that's what we wanna do. We wanna throw her down, but that is not what you do with brown patch. Now dollar spot, if that's your only problem, go ahead and throw her down. But typically, I think a lot of you are going to be seeing more brown patch in the lawns, and that's really one that you don't want to put down nitrogen with. But the one thing you can do is try to keep the lawn dried off. You're going to notice that when you put your hands in the lawn on humid days, it's going to have this sticky feeling, even in the middle of the day. You'll know what I'm saying. Just put your hand in there and feel it. It's like sticky. But if you just put your hand in there, do you feel how it's like sticky?
Absolutely.
Right? You feel what I'm talking? Yeah, and to me, that's from the rain and heat, is that sticky feeling. You can feel it when you get down in there. Right. And your lawn is healthy. You've been taking care of it. So you're fine. It's vigorous enough to grow through any problems. But again, people that aren't taking care of their lawn, theirs are really sticky right now.
Right.
And that right there is setting up the perfect situation for the brown patch to take over even more than it already has. So believe it or not, one of the things that you can do to help slow brown patch down is to dry your lawn off in the morning. You could mow it in the morning if you wanted to, or actually just take your blower and just blow all the dew in the morning. The idea here is to get the water cleared off, but to get airflow. That's really what we want, is airflow to help dry up, literally dry up that fungal problem. Of course, I do recommend you put fungicides down like we talked about in the very beginning of this video, and plan on doing 2 to 3 apps, like I said, in succession, a couple weeks apart. The other thing I definitely recommend that you do is start catching your clippings. Go ahead, this is a time you want to bag. We just want to, we don't want to spread stuff around any more than's already going to happen naturally. So go ahead and bag clippings when disease is present in the lawn. Lastly, you are definitely going to want to aerate and overseed in the fall. Once the disease kind of works itself through and we're into cooler temperatures, heavy aerate, heavy overseed, get fresh cultivars in there that may be a little bit more resistant to disease, but that's definitely going to be a must. And at that time, you can throw her down some Milorganite or starter fert or both.
Throw her down. Let's hope for the best.